And we are back. Another segment of matchups to break down NFL Week 15. Jeff, Jesse, and Yeasty all here on the set. Yeasty just cut a big old
That's
cheesy
not
fart.
true.
Come
on,
man. And it's just terrible.
Never let him
over
see
here.
you sweat, bro.
Yeah,
come on.
come on now.
I'm sorry.
No need to call out your buddy. He is Browns.
Yeah, exactly.
Jacked
Well,
up.
let's just kind of skate away from that issue and just kind of
No,
divert.
let's go back to that issue. Let's go that way.
Divert the viewers back to these fantastic shirts we've got hanging along the back. If you can't read them, they say "Feed the Beast," and they've been brought down by a new friend of the Testosterone Show. Jeff, tell the people out there about the shirts and where they can find them.
Well, everybody should go onto our website. First of all, after the airing of this show, come on to testosteronesports.com. Come on to the Fat Chat. We'll all be there. And one reason I tell you that is because Vince Barrett is a mainstay on the chat. Sometimes I think he likes to log into the chat and just let it stay on for hours upon end. I'll go on there and be like, hey, Vince, he's in there more than me, which is super cool. Anyway, Vince owns St. Croix Embroidery and Screen Print, and Vince is such a big Vikings fan that his store is located at Viking Drive in St. Paul. So for all of your T-shirt needs, you softball players out there wanting uniforms, anything that you need, he's the man for you. And he created this excellent T-shirt that we have to offer. And I'm wearing one underneath my Adrian Peterson jersey. And he is the beast. And we do have this tradition, time-honored tradition this season of continuously bringing the show back to Adrian because he's the best running back that we've had, obviously, since our Chuck Foreman. And we've seen this kid up close and personal. He stands about a head taller than LT. And Jesse and Yeasty, his skill set, as we've come to witness, is as good as LT. He's got some crazy moves. He'll juke a dude out of his jock strap, leave him in his wake, and there's nothing else to see, but the dust behind the stampede.
And you can pick up these Feed the Beast T-shirts on our website, testosteronesports.com. We're selling them for $12.95. They're an excellent shirt. It's not that cheap, crappy material. Right. They're a thicker stock. It's printed on the front. It's very classy with the number 28 says Feed the Beast all day because Adrian Peterson's all day as well as all decade. If you tune into our show, you got to go onto the website and check it out and stop by after the show anyways because the Fat Chat, we're going to be on there helping the junkies at home with matchup questions too, Yeast.
Yeah, there should still be a Saturday night game going by the time we air on Channel 6, so come on, we can see if we were right or wrong about how we broke that game down, and then everything for Sunday as well. So yeah, we'll help you out and help you win, get a little cash so you can afford one of those fine T-shirts.
Nice. Back to the matchups, guys. Buffalo and Cleveland, two teams that in the preseason basically looked like they were headed in the wrong direction already. Two coaches that were probably going to be on the hot seat by this time. However, this game has serious playoff implications because the Browns would be in if the playoffs started right now, and the Bills are knocking on that door. Yeasty, I know you're the big Browns pimp. Yep. What do you expect in a must-win game for these two teams clashing in Week 15?
Well, I think if anybody thought that Buffalo and Cleveland would be one of the biggest games in Week 15, we'd have said they were smoking crack, number one. But number two, I mean, it's at Cleveland, so you have to like Cleveland at home against the soft Buffalo defense. Their offense should be able to put up some points. Jamal Lewis ran like a maniac last week against the Jets, won a few games for a few people, I'm sure. Derek Anderson's come back to earth a little bit the last few weeks, but he did have a big hookup to Braylon Edwards and played okay. I think they're going to have a big game against Buffalo.
Jeff, what do you think in this matchup?
I think there's a lot of good fantasy points here in this matchup. These two teams are going to duke it out for the wild card spot. The Bills, make no mistake, they're like the AFC version of the Vikings. Nobody thought they would do very much. Some sketchy quarterback play, young quarterbacks. Well, they got Trent Edwards in under center, and he's really given this team a spark. They put up great numbers last week. He hooked up twice with Lee Evans for a touchdown. One was a 70-yard bomb. Nice. And I really think that because Cleveland really doesn't play much defense, that they're going to hook up again. So I really like your Bills here in this matchup. The running game is a little bit suspect because we don't know for sure what's up with Marshawn Lynch. I don't think his ankle is right, so you're going to want to try to reserve him if you can. But this is a matchup that he should perform well in because there's not going to be very good defense.
And I have Lynch going in one of my playoff leagues, so maybe I'm, maybe I'm a little bit jaded here in my prediction. But Lynch did have over 20 carries last week and finished with over 100 yards. So Fred Jackson was in the fold, used heavily. I do think Jackson will be a part of their mix this weekend, but this is a game that they have to win if they want to be in the playoffs. And Marshawn Lynch is a playmaker for them. So I think Lynch is a safe play, especially as a number 2 or 3 back like I'm using him against our good buddy Namdi, who joins the chat every week as well. It's going to be a good week for Lynch. I like Lynch in this matchup, but I look at it and I think the Browns are they're gonna win. Derek Anderson's for real.
Yeah, I mean, we could be talking about the Bills being 9-4 pretty easily if Jason Elam doesn't go run out and kick that field goal.
Week 1.
Tony Romo doesn't pull one out of his anus in
Week 4.
Week 4. So, they really could be 9-4 and really be talking about as a serious contender in the AFC. Everybody that's talking about Trent Edwards as a sneaky play for your playoff matchups, I don't really like it. He only had 1 touchdown pass before last week. I wouldn't put all my.
You don't
eggs in
really
the
want
Trent
to
Edwards
gamble
basket.
too much in the playoffs.
We had a couple of emails asking about Trent Edwards. So for everybody that's emailed asking about Trent Edwards to try to be sneaky, a la Billy Volek a few years ago, I really don't think he could do that.
I really like Kellen Winslow in this game. He's only 57 yards away from his first 1,000-yard season, and I get the sense that he's going to come up big, get into the end zone, have a nice yardage day. I really like the passing game from the Browns as well. And along with you guys, I think it's going to be a closer game, a lot of scoring in the game, but I do believe that the Browns will bring home the victory.
I think so too.
Romeo Crennel for AFC Coach of the Year.
Nice. Seattle at Carolina. Carolina, a team that's completely fallen apart through the second half of the season. They're just going through the motions right now. They're absolutely dead in the water. Seattle, a team that doesn't have a whole lot to play for. They've got their division completely sewn up. They know they're going to be in the playoffs, but still, you have to think Seattle's going to win this game, right, Jeff?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, Carolina's really not that good. And you know what's kind of almost funny about this game is that they're better on the road than they are at home. So if this game were in Seattle, I would almost like the Panthers more.
Except the Panthers suck.
And they're at home, and they suck that badly. So I don't like any of the fantasy plays at all here for Carolina in this game. And Sean Alexander, he keeps getting carries. If you have a point per carry game, then you're in business with him. But at 2.4 yards per carry and no touchdowns, he's really not anything better than a 5th or 6th running back now.
Is he done as a fantasy factor?
I don't think there's any way you can speculate on that right now. I think that if if he wants to run hard, that there's more harding
He's done,
that he
dude.
can run.
He's done.
Well,
See ya.
say what you want.
He got his contract. He's done.
I want to see him run in
absolutely
the
right.
playoffs.
I think what they're going to do over these last couple of weeks is run Maurice Morris, who actually got more carries than Sean Alexander last week. I think they're going to run them both out there. So if you have one or the other, it's a pretty risky play, but I would go with Maurice Morris at this point, actually, over Sean Alexander.
I think so, too. And from the Seattle passing game standpoint, Matt Hasselbeck's been red hot.
Fire.
You got to keep him in your lineup in the fantasy playoffs. I like him for 2 or 3 scores here at least. Could even go 4 scores on it. Look, Seattle's going to roll in this contest. Next up, Arizona traveling to New Orleans. Arizona, a team that's got deflated a little bit last week. They stepped out of the playoff picture despite another nice effort from Kurt Warner at the quarterback position. But guys, this game looks like it has all the makings of a shootout. These two teams love to go deep down the field, Easty.
Yeah, if you play in a league that doesn't take away points for turnovers, then Kurt Warner is one of the better quarterbacks in that kind of a format. But he did throw 5 picks last week for anybody that does get negative points for turnovers. But Larry Fitzgerald still running a little gingerly as the time that we tape this. Brian Johnson only had 1 catch. Jeremy Urban was actually the guy that filled in well for Anquan Bolden. Jeremy Urban. So, I'm not saying go pick him up.
Cowboy.
I'm not saying go pick him up, but everybody thought Brian Johnson would slide into Anquan Bolden's spot, and he disappointed even though his 1 catch was for a touchdown.
And now Leonard Pope's out for the season, right?
Yep, that's true.
If you play the Urban, you may as well have a whole 5th of bourbon because you're going to need it.
And what about New
telling you
Orleans, Jeff? I mean, they got it going last week on Monday night,
Yeah.
albeit against the absolutely lost Atlanta team. But Drew Brees and company are still technically in the playoff picture. They're playing with a lot of pride right now. They don't have a running game because Reggie Bush is out. But you got to like Marcus Colston here, and you got to like Brees, too.
Well, the Brees to Colston connection is fantastic, in my opinion. I think that they will stay red hot. Also, Arizona really not stopping the run very well. So I do like Aaron Stecker, although it's really tough to play a guy like that in your fantasy playoffs. Again, if you're in a meaningless game, it's the consolation playoffs. Throw him out there, see how he does. But Stecker has been in the league several years, so it's not like he's a young guy trying to come up and make a statement. And coincidentally, I think Edge gets nothing this weekend.
Yeah, I was just going to pick that up. Edgerrin hasn't done much at all lately, and the New Orleans defense has actually stopped the run very well. A lot of people are playing Edgerrin thinking that's a good matchup, and I don't think he's going to do anything. But Aaron Stecker, 20 carries for 100 yards. I had Reggie Bush. I got to roll with Aaron Stecker this week.
The hottest running back in the NFL over the last 5 weeks is a guy who's completely burst onto the scene, come out of nowhere for the hated Green Bay Packers. Of course, I'm talking about Ryan Grant. You've been rolling with him so far. You got to roll with him here this week. Green Bay at St. Louis. The Pack got healthy again last week, and really, Ryan Grant's the key, Easty.
Yeah, Ryan Grant ran all over Oakland. He's probably going to do the same all over St. Louis in the Dome. He makes good moves. I'm not going to say he's Adrian Peterson quick, but he's a power runner that can juke some people as well, and what a gem they found in that guy. I mean, he's been a great running back for him.
Yeah, you know, in this game, I think there's going to be a lot of points. I don't think that St. Louis is going to roll over for the Packers. I think they'll be up because it is against the Packers. But I do think the Packers will smoke by the end of the game. In my opinion, it's really difficult to play anybody out of the St. Louis passing game. Torrey Holt getting a little bit older. He flipped me a little bit of an attitude when I met him, and I think that the mojo from that is kind of.
He didn't flip you attitude, bro. He blew you
he
off.
did.
He blew you
got
off.
big
That wasn't
time by
attitude.
big
He was
game.
just. He's like, don't
He's a
bother
prick.
me.
I'll never have that guy on my team again now.
You got big time by
Steven
big
Jackson,
game.
I think, could have a nice game here this weekend. So if you've got him, you have to start him because he's your top dog. And so go ahead and play him, and just kind of roll the dice to see what happens. But realistically, if you have Steven Jackson, unlikely that you're in the playoffs.
I look for Donald Lee to have a big game. St. Louis has been giving up a lot of points to tight ends, and Mark Bolger looks like he may play, but he'll probably only stay in for about 4 or 5 plays till A.J. Hawk plants him or something.
And he gets concussed again. Another guy we have to touch on here in this matchup is Donald Driver. Only fantasy junkies of old remember when he was healthy and good and playing well. He's
1 season ago?
Yeah, he's not the same player that he was before. He's just not getting in the end zone. You have to look at this passing game and think Greg Jennings is their top option. Caught a long touchdown pass from Favre. At this point, he's the better start out of those two wides, in my opinion.
If you look at Donald Driver's skill set, he's really not designed to be a number 1 target.
Right.
And Jennings is. So I like it for Driver. And in that, having Jennings be the top target is going to allow Driver to extend his career a little bit. He doesn't have all the responsibility of being the number 1 guy, and so he can be a little bit more nondescript. And as defenses roll over more to Jennings, they're going to be able to find Driver. I don't think he'll get in the end zone again.
That's enough time spent on
never
Donald
does.
Driver. That's enough Donald
He
Driver.
has Donald Driver in the tough league.
Well,
so
hey,
he
guys,
just-
tell me then. Who should I start, Dwayne Bowe or Driver? You tell me, because you're unbiased.
Is that your choice? Those are your choices? How'd you make the playoffs, you lame-o? Let's go.
Let's see. I have LT, Adrian,
Jacksonville
and Tom Brady.
Pittsburgh in the final matchup of this breakdown. The Jags, a team that, as Easty said, just doesn't make any mistakes. Their quarterback, only 1 interception on the entire season. David Garrard, he's not a good fantasy play, definitely not a good fantasy play at Pittsburgh. I look at the Jags team. Fred Taylor's been hot lately, but how do you really start a running back against Pittsburgh? That's a bind.
Yeah, I don't really know how you're going to roll with any Jaguars in this game. If you have David Garrard, maybe you have to go with him, but I can't endorse any of the Jaguars at this point. I think Pittsburgh's going to be pretty upset about the way things turned out last week, and they're going to take it out on the Jags this week.
It's going to be a brutally hard-fought game here, and I think that because Jacksonville has just lost one of their best players in Marcus Stroud, he won't be able to play in this game. I actually think that because Pittsburgh is the kind of team that will find a way to win, I like Willie Parker finally to do something in this game. I think that I know I'm kind of going out on a limb a little bit, but he's my sneaky start of the week here. I think that because there's no Marcus Stroud, Willie Parker's going to find a few more yards in between the tackles and could be able to get that extra push.
Can you get into the end zone for once?
Well, what I'd like to see is them give him the ball on the 5 and then for Ben to get behind him and push him into the end zone because Ben is so big. He's just like a big lurchy looking, gigantic log of a guy.
Santonio Holmes should be back, but he's probably going to draw Rasheed Mathis. Hines Ward, I think, is the play as far as receivers go.
I say bench Santonio Holmes here in this game as well. And almost more than Hines Ward, I like to see Heath Miller get in the end zone this weekend.
I think the Steelers are going to come out here, guys. They got embarrassed last week. A lot of people thought they would be able to play it close with the Patriots. Yeah. And you remember that play where the Pats threw it over to Randy, he threw it back to Brady, and then Brady gunned it deep.
That's the Steelers play.
2 years ago, the Steelers used that play in the playoffs late in the season, And that's just Belichick
Oh,
going through and showing the Steelers, hey, we can do everything that you do and more.
And we'll even fumble it and still get the touchdown.
Right. So Steelers are going to roll in this game, in my opinion. We have one more segment of matchups to break down. We're going to take a brief break. We'll be back just after these messages. You're locked and loaded, tuned in to Testosterone Fantasy Sports on MCN6.
Yeah.